Hi, I'm Dan Nelson. Thanks for joining me for another free art lesson. Today I'm going to talk about the third immovable block of the human figure. If you've seen some of the earlier art lessons, you recall that I have identified 3 blocks in the human figure that do not morph or flex. Everything in between those blocks flexes, but the 3 blocks are the skull, the chest rib cage cavity, the chest cavity, and the hips. And if you haven't seen it, go back. Really? We'll wait for you. Bring a note from your mother. I'm going to know why you're late. Go back and check out the immovable block of the chest and the hips, and then you'll be ready for number 3, the head. Now, you've perhaps already seen in one of the earlier art lessons, or you've seen somewhere else, that the head can be simplified to a rectangle. Viewing from the front, a rectangle that is roughly 2 by 3. Now you understand, I hope, that the only reason I'm dividing it into 2 by 3 is because that's the overall ratio. Now we're going to take this unit and come up with a much more sophisticated mnemonic device, a memory tool, to help you remember how to draw the human head. So, new page. I'm going to begin this one, a little bit switch on you. Instead of drawing the human head from the front first, we're going to do it from the side, because I want to teach you what I think is the best tool, the best memory device for remembering the shape. A lot of art books try to condense the shape of the head into an egg-shaped. And I bless all those art teachers, but I think that's a terrible way to start the head. Why? Because the egg is an extremely complex geometrical shape. I mean, it's very hard. If you don't think it's hard, please draw me an egg right now. Ha! Gotcha. It's hard, isn't it? Very hard to do an egg. Here's another one that's a little simpler, and I've used this often in the past. The head is essentially the shape of a ball in a bucket. That's, you know, maybe a basketball or a soccer ball in a bucket. But there's still so many variables there. The question is, you know, how big is the bucket? How big is the ball? And so on and so on and so forth. Still very hard. Then there are many others. But I'm going to jump right to the memory device that is most helpful for me. But in order to start it out, rather than drawing this head from the front, we're going to turn this person to the side. Are you with me? So they're going to be facing to our left. And we could do it either way, it doesn't matter, but just since I've been favoring turning to the left, I'm going to stick with that for now. The shape of the human head is begin by drawing a circle. Now let me back up here and say something. The progression that you want to follow when you're learning to draw anything new, but especially something as complex as a human figure, the progression that you want to follow is from simple to complex. Okay? I'm sure that makes a lot of sense. You can only take in so much new information at a time. Everybody can, no matter how bright or how slow you feel like you are. All of us, we can only take in so much information. So it's always best to start very, very simple and move to the complex. And of course, if you've been watching my art lessons, you've seen this happening all along. Now, let me explain one other thing. It's much easier to imitate hard angles than it is to imitate curves. What I mean by this, if I were to say to you, imitate me, follow me, copy me, draw this kind of cattywampus, that's a Texas word, draw this cattywampus Z for me, you could do a pretty good job. Whereas on the other hand, if I said, imitate this curve for me, this, do you understand, is a much, much more highly complex equation than this. Even in mathematics, this is a very simple equation. This is pages and pages of numbers to get this curve exactly right. And that's what your brain has to do. So what I tend to do, and many other art teachers who teach how to draw the human figure, is what I tend to do is try to reduce the human figure to straight line geometric shapes. First, get it? Do straight geometric shapes and then advance to curves. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm doing here, with one very important exception, and that is that the circle is a simple geometric shape. You may not be able to draw it perfectly the right time, but that doesn't matter. You keep your hand going around until you get a circle. Does that make sense? So even though I'm always trying to operate from simple to complex, that means I'm usually going from straight geometrical shapes to curves. There is one exception, and that is a circle is a simple geometric shape. Okay, having said that, the human head viewed from the side can be seen as a circle drawn into quarters, okay? And then this person is facing this way. Here's what I'm going to do, just to make it simple. First of all, I'm going to draw a child, like a 2, 3, 4-year-old child. Very simple. You take this lower left quadrant and turn it into a square. And there we have a child's skull. Now some of you are saying, I don't see it, I don't see it. Okay, I'll help you out just a little bit. There's a button nose, there's an eye, there's a mouth, here's a neck, here's an ear. Are you with me? Do you see it now? That's a human skull. Now, we have to make some changes for this to go from a 2 or 3-year-old, but I wanted to start there to just get you to see. I think this is better than an egg. It's better than a ball in a bucket. Is a circle where one of the corners, one of the quadrants of that circle is turned into a square. Okay, now let's go to the step 2. I'm going to start out bigger, circle, 4 roughly equal quadrants, turn this into a square. Now that's a 2 or 3-year-old child, as I've already demonstrated. Now if we'll simply make one change in this, I'm going to change this from a square into a rectangle. Now you might say, but how long is the rectangle? Let me see. I would guess I'm adding a third of the square. I mean, I'm adding 50%. Divide the square in half and add that to there. Are you with me? We've already got this human skeleton. I already have a human skull, don't we? You can finish it from there without any more help from me. But we're going to make a few more refinements. If you carve this down, you get the jawline down here. If we taper this off a little bit, we get more of the proper angle of the typical average human face. And now let's turn this back around to the front. So we're viewing this human skull, this human head from the front. We started with a circle. By the way, it's okay that your circle's a mess. Do you understand? Don't be trying to get it all perfect and get all uptight. Messy circle is just fine. Just keep your pencil going around and around and around until you get something that looks circle-ish. And if we were to draw a square at the bottom, we would have a very, very, very odd-looking shape, something like that. So you know that's not right. So I'm going to do things to this. I'm going to do 2 things to this skull from the front to make it more human. The first thing I'm going to do is shave off the sides of the circle. And then, even more than that, I'm going to shave off the sides of this block. Does that make sense? I hope that's not too complex. Maybe that's about as far as we should take it for today's lesson. The most elementary human skull. Now, just one more thing very quickly. Where do the eyes go? Halfway from top to bottom. I think most of you have heard this. The eyes go right there. We'll talk about that on our next free art lesson. Hope you're having a good time drawing. Amaze your friends. Please your mom. Get something good put on the refrigerator. Won't that be great? Hope you're having a good time. I sure am. Thanks. Bye-bye.